Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Making Tax Simple. For the broader expansion of that description, ensuring global compliance with tech in 2025. Well, that really does roll off the tongue, doesn't it, Mark? An exciting day today to talk about making tax as simple as possible. My name's Gary McKnight. I'm the head of the Sage practice here at Thinc. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, and hopefully you'll enjoy it all the way through. Let's have a look at the speakers today, apart from myself. At the side of me, I've got Mark Darling from Avalara. Mark, do you want to just say a few words, introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, and thank you, Gary, and thank you to the Thinc team for the warm welcome here in your offices just outside of Manchester. The sun has been shining, folks. Honestly, believe me. So, I work with Thinc and Sage. That's my responsibility. I'm kind of the partnerships guy here for Sage and Thinc at Avalara, and I'm here to sort of help you navigate some of the complexities of global tax compliance today.
Great, thank you very much. So let's delve into what we're going to be talking about today. Throughout the session, you'll learn various things about dealing with tax and multiple tax regimes through software and automation. However, if you stay on the call and go all the way through, one of you is going to win a bottle of champagne for today. So keep your eyes and ears open. Part one. One of the hidden risks of dealing with taxation. 83% of finance leaders regularly experience burnout. But what do we mean by that? Because that's not really a tax thing. But people in the finance team are generally busy people. Yeah. Say recently shown that 83% of members of those teams have significant burnout or tiredness. We're all busy doing other things, and dealing with taxation is one of those key things that takes time, takes effort, and causes various elements of stress. What do you think about that, Mark?
I think it's certainly true. One interesting thing is that in different industries, you've got different taxation requirements, and different organizations are organized differently. You might have a tax department, you might have finance people, but a lot of the time, if people aren't automating these tasks, then they're either sort of throwing a lot of money and people at it, that's going to be expensive. They are open to sort of errors in keystrokes, etc., which could lead to fines and audits. Or they're kind of burying their heads in the sand and hoping that the auditors don't come calling, or everything will go away. So one of the key things here is looking to automate these tasks to take that kind of burden away from the finance leaders.
Excellent. So we're trying to avoid the brown envelope coming through with the penalties in it, aren't we?
Yeah, we certainly are.
Good. Okay, so let's just focus on the UK for a moment. Most of the members of the audience today are used to dealing with UK VAT, and in recent years, making tax digital. However, recent government research for FY23-24 shows that overall businesses are spending £15.4 billion on dealing with UK tax compliance. That's a hell of a lot of money. So whether that be dealing with the complexities, whether that be rising national insurance costs that are coming on board in the next few weeks, whether that's manual filing, returns and errors, or even just 3% of businesses have adopted e-invoicing, something new technology that's come along. I'm sure we'll be speaking about that a bit later, Mark.
We certainly will.
Excellent. Okay, so just bear that in mind. Just dealing with the UK, £15.4 billion cost to UK businesses. And then we want to grow and we want to expand, and we go into new geographical areas. What would that look like in somewhere like Europe, let's say?
All right. Well, I'll take that one, Gary.
Okay.
One of the things is, in UK, or as Gary mentioned, we've got making tax digital. So that's a digital submission for the tax authority. There's only two other countries in Europe that support that currently. That is Germany with the Ulster Bank and the Netherlands with Digiport. Everywhere else, you have to have a ready-to-file report that they're typically in XML format that needs to be sort of uploaded into the tax authority's portal. But guess what? The rates are different, the rules are different, the box numbers are different on the returns, and there's varying degrees of complexity, all the way from something as simple as MTD through to Hungary, where invoices have to be approved by the government before a VAT return can be fulfilled. But also you've got various degrees of fines for non-compliance, typically around 10 to 50%, but in Italy, they can charge you up to 180% of the VAT owned. But the kind of North Star on sort of the tax compliance within Europe and the rest of the world is e-invoicing. And the current position is that nearly half of the GDP in the EU will be covered by an invoicing mandate by 2026. At the moment, you've got Italy live. There's some other countries coming, but we'll be talking about that a little later.
Great. And we thought England was complex and difficult. Yeah. So dealing with Europe opens up a whole new Pandora's box of problems is basically what we're saying. Yes. And how do we deal with that? Well, there's also another kid on the block, as I would say, coming from the north of England, and that is our friends over in the US. Now, we're probably not going to mention the government situation there, but what's the story in the US from a taxation point of view? Because it's very different.
Yeah, certainly lots of changes in tariffs.
Yes.
So in the UK and in Europe, you only have one tax jurisdiction to worry about. There's over 13,000 tax jurisdictions in the US. It's kind of at state, county, city, town, village, university district, football district, cultural district. You could literally be in one street having one leg and then striding two different tax zones. But also things don't stand still. There's approximately 250,000 changes to tax rates there was last year. And thankfully at Avalara, we've got a team of 300 content researchers who look at this stuff. But we're having to use generative AI to help us surface all that data to find out what those changes are. You also have we got some examples here of some weird taxation rules in the US. One of the ones I love is that if you buy 5 donuts in Texas, you pay tax. If you buy 6, you don't pay tax.
Interesting.
So remember that for the next time you're in Texas, Gary.
Okay. All right. I'm interested in the bagel one because there's a difference between a slice and a long slice bagel.
There is a whole bagel in New York is not taxed, but as soon as you slice it, it is.
So that must be a service then. Is that the process?
It's about the use. You'll hear the term sales and use tax there in the US.
Excellent. But as you can see already, we've not actually talked very much about solutions to these problems, but the problem itself is building up. And as businesses grow in the UK and expand into different geographical locations, more and more compliance hassle comes your way. So maybe we should think about that in a slightly different way is if we've got too many tasks in too little time, how are we going to deal with this? So you might have multi-entities. So you've got different levels of financial reporting and tax compliance in different areas. You're going to have to deal with payment reporting. And you've even got a strategic focus where the business itself is thinking about forecasting. It's thinking about its cash flow, budgets for future years. What are we doing and when we're going to do it? All this adds to the complexity of dealing with business on a day-to-day basis. However, from a safe point of view, and of course, from our friends here at Avalara, we have a solution to this problem. So let's move into that now.
Thank you, Gary. Well, let's give you a little bit of a story about Avalara. We've been, last year was our 20th anniversary, 21 years old now. I know I don't look it. We're all over the world, predominantly our main sort of locations are the US, India, Brazil, and here in Europe. We have over 30,000 customers and over 2,300 of those are Sage customers. We were working with Sage for over 20 years now. It was the first financial partner we signed up with, actually. And there were over 5,000 tax nerds at Avalara trying to help.
Are you allowed to say that, Mark? Is that such a term that we're allowed to say?
It's fine. We're happy. We're happily known as tax nerds. So I'll give you a view of our end-to-end solutions. One of the things we can do with people is help them understand, I think, they're moving into new markets. What's the risk associated with that? What is, if I'm going to move to the US, for example, and looking to trade there, what my goods and services, what tax rates, what am I going to be exposed to? Once you've made that kind of commitment, we can help people get registered in the US. We'll get registered for VAT and free invoicing and goods and sales tax in Australia and New Zealand as well. If anyone is pushing goods around the world, there's something coming called the harmonized system codes, which is where a product has a SKU, has a code associated with it. So you know or what tariffs are associated with it, because the taxation is going to be different from Japan to Spain to the US. So HS codes help you understand the correct tariff rules. And then we come to the main kind of solutions that Avalara is famous for: tax determination. So this is calculating tax. Predominantly, people know us for doing US and Canadian tax. We'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. E-invoicing, this new kind of tsunami of legislation that is coming across the world. And then returns and reporting. So filing returns in the US or automating the returns of the VAT in Europe.
Okay, thank you for that brief introduction to the services and solutions. But in this next little segment of the webinar, let's have a look at how we can deal with that hassle, how we can deal with that workload and move into a more automated tax compliance world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell us more about that, Mark?
Of course. So in the US, as we mentioned already, that you have 14,000, 30,000 tax claims. You've got 250,000 changes to taxation rules. You've got other things like exemption certificates for some, maybe charities, military, education. A lot of complexity. And the fact that keeping that up to date is a burden for Avalara. But the good news is that this solution has integrated into Intact. And I think we'd like to show you what that looks like.
Excellent. I've got a brief video to show you, so happy watching.
Yeah. What we're seeing here is someone putting in an order into Sage Intact, creating a sales invoice, getting the header information in, entering some lines, and hit the calculate button and bang, now you've got all the correct tax rates. And that happened in sub 2.9 milliseconds. The Avatax, our newest tax product, surfaced over 13,000 tax zones, 250,000 different rates and rules, and responded, as you saw, in milliseconds. It's actually sub 2.9 milliseconds in calculate tax.
Pretty impressive, Mark.
Thank you very much. And let's move across to Europe now. We have a tool, imaginatively we call it back reporting. What this tool is available to do is to take data out of the source system, e.g. Intact, and that will create automatically returns for 48 countries. The long list here, we might do a quiz at the end of the call today, just to make sure you've noticed what they are. But the good news is we run 150 compliance checks to make sure that we are submitting an automated VAT return. And and we will present any errors and warnings if there are any issues with the VAT return before that's submitted to the tax authority.
48 countries.
Yes.
That's a lot of compliance, isn't it?
It is a lot of compliance. And well, I think what you'll find is that people who probably start their operation in the UK will open up in France or Germany, and they'll start working with a local accountant. But that's fine. But as you add on to that, you're increasing your costs. And what we're hoping to do here is help people automate all that manual and costly effort. And here's the big thing, e-invoicing. And if you haven't heard about it yet, you're going to hear about it in the future. E-invoicing started in South America, basically because the tax authorities weren't sure if the VAT returns that were being submitted were accurate. So they wanted to bring in something that whenever an invoice is generated, an auditable copy would be sent to the tax authority so they could, when the return comes through, they can match the invoices against. Absolutely. So then I think it was PwC who estimated that there was over 130 billion euros in the EU, which was something called the VAT gap. So this was the difference between how much of VAT was filed and should have been filed. So next up, they said, right, we need to bring this over to Europe now. Italy was the first market it went into, and that number has reduced by 20% just purely by putting it into Italy.
So what you're really saying is we're moving in the future towards tax returns that have totals on them to actual transactional auditability behind it.
You're right, actually, Gary. In the future, you'll probably find out as these e-invoices is going to replace the VAT return.
Because there won't be any need for it.
Exactly right. Now, Avalara has the solution that is coming into Intact later on this year. But just to give you an idea of where we are now, Italy, you will have Germany, you've gone for a hybrid solution, which is live now. Holland will be next, then Spain. And then it's going to kind of go like a hockey stick where everyone is going to start implementing this. Just to give you an idea about Avalara's stake in invoicing, there are 2 associations in France and Germany for e-invoicing. Avalara has a seat at that table. We're also a member of the European Commission Group for e-invoicing. We're also on the advisory board for the European Union. And we've also processed the first e-invoice transaction in the USA.
So you could actually say you've dipped more than a toe in the water when it comes to
I
taxation.
think it's better to say that.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So where do you start with all of this? We know that there's a problem. We know that we have to adhere to compliance. We know that it takes time and effort, and that's just in the UK.
Yeah.
Then we've got Europe, then we've got US, and predominantly the rest of the world.
Correct.
Yeah? So wherever you want to take your business in the future, we know that we're going to have to deal with this. And the way to deal with that is through using a specific tax solution for your back office accounting system. Naturally today, as we're representing Sage and Sage Intact, Avalara is directly integrated with that solution. I'd also like to say that Avalara does actually talk to other solutions as well. So let's not be biased always towards Sage. But, you do talk to other solutions, whether that be SAP Business One or things like NetSuite and Oracle. Yeah. So is there some way that our customers and clients could actually start to understand how they attack this?
Yeah. The simple thing is obviously talk to your Thinc representative and get the conversation going. And then obviously, if there's something that you need, contact Avalara or get our kind of experts to get on a Teams call or a Zoom call, and we can talk through our solutions. But we do have an offer today is that Avalara has an online sales tax risk assessment. And typically this is marketed around $4,500 US. And this will give, basically it's a questionnaire to ask you about your services, your product, the locations that you're selling into. And then you will get a report and a consultation on the back of that. And for Thinc customers, we're offering that at a zero cost. So I'd urge you to have a look at that one.
So whether we've got customers and clients that are already in those regions, or whether they're thinking of putting their toe in the water, there's a bit of advice, a bit of information to come your way at no cost.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Okay. So if anybody on the call today is interested in that, by all means, reach out. That's a way of us being able to educate you and your teams into the compliance pitfall to avoid in the future, and hopefully get some positive information back to business as a result of it. That's great. Well, so we've reached the end of our brief webinar today, talking about the interesting thing of tax and all the things that it brings with it. Thank you very much for everyone for joining today. Of course, if you have stayed on the call and you were there from the start and you were an official registry, then of course you have a chance of winning a bottle of champagne. That's our way of saying thank you. Please do take the opportunity to sign up for your free sales tax risk assessment.
Well done, Gary.
Put my teeth in there. But if you've got any questions from anyone on the call, please feel to raise your hands and raise them now. If not, and you're a little bit shy, reach out to us here at Thinc and we'll give you a direct response. Once again, thanks very much for your time. And I'll let you get back to the dizzy heights of tax compliance. Thank you.
Thank you.